The town was quiet, almost deceptively peaceful. Dust floated lightly in the air, carried by a soft breeze that smelled of soil and fresh crops. At the edge of this town stood a farm that felt alive, cared for, protected like a living being. Zeynep walked along the narrow path of her land, holding a broom, her eyes sharp, her movements precise. Everything here mattered to her. Every plant, every corner, every detail. Zeynep was not just working on a farm. She was guarding a legacy. Her voice was calm but firm as she spoke to the workers. No. Disinfectants mean poisoning the produce. We don't take shortcuts here. This farm survives because it stays pure. There was no arrogance in her tone, only conviction. This was who she was, strong, principled, unbending. In a world that constantly pushed people to compromise, Zeynep refused to bend. And that refusal was about to change her life forever. The calm shattered suddenly. A car rushed down the road far too fast for a place like this. The engine roared, dust flew everywhere, and before anyone could react, the car came dangerously close to Zeynep's tractor. She slammed the brakes, heart pounding. Zeynep stepped down, anger flashing in her eyes. Are you blind? You can't drive like that on this road. Are you crazy? The man behind the wheel stepped out slowly. Halil Fırat. His expression was controlled, his voice steady, but there was fire underneath. I almost got killed. You're the one blocking the road with that huge tractor. Two people. Two strong egos. Two worlds colliding. This wasn't just a roadside argument. This was the first spark of a storm. Neither of them apologized. Neither stepped back. The air between them felt charged, tense, unfinished. They walked away, but something had already begun. Back at home, the tone shifted. The house was quieter, heavier. Zeynep's grandmother sat alone, her hands trembling slightly as she held a rosary. Her eyes were distant, lost somewhere between the past and the present. Suddenly, the rosary slipped from her fingers and fell to the ground. Her voice shook. It slipped away, from my hands. Zeynep. Zeynep rushed to her side. Don't worry, Grandma. I'll find it. I promise. That rosary was not just beads and thread. It carried memories, prayers, moments from a life slowly fading. For Zeynep, finding it wasn't a task. It was a responsibility. A promise she could not break. While Zeynep struggled to protect what she loved, Halil was carrying the weight of a past that refused to stay buried. His story unfolded quietly, in shadows and whispered words. As a child, he had seen his family destroyed, humiliated, pushed into nothingness. The Aslanli family had everything, and his had lost it all. They buried us alive, an older voice said beside him. They showed no mercy. But now it's our turn. Halil listened in silence. His eyes were cold, focused. This wasn't rage. This was calculation. He hadn't returned for chaos. He had returned for control. Then came the engagement party. Lights, music, polite smiles, expensive dresses. Everything looked perfect on the surface. Zeynep's family moved through the room with pride, obsessed with appearances. Every detail had to look flawless. Status mattered. Reputation mattered. Zeynep stood there, elegant but distant. She never fully belonged to rooms like this. Her world was simpler, grounded. Still, she played her role. And then Halil walked in. Polite, respectful. The same man from the road, now dressed as a guest. His presence shifted the energy in the room. Conversations softened. Eyes followed him. Zeynep felt it instantly, that same tension from their first meeting. They exchanged brief words. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. But underneath, something dangerous moved. The party continued until Halil made his move. Quietly, confidently, he revealed the truth. The ranch. The land. The house. The ownership papers were in his hands. You have one day, he said calmly, looking directly at Zeynep. Tomorrow, you clear out my house. The room froze. This was not an argument anymore. This was power. The man who had seemed like just another guest was now the owner of everything Zeynep was fighting to protect. Her world cracked open. The farm, her grandmother's memories, her family's security, everything stood on the edge of collapse. And the worst part? Halil wasn't shouting. He wasn't threatening. He didn't need to. He already had control. That night, Zeynep sat beside her grandmother, holding her hand. The house felt different now. Fragile. Vulnerable. I promised, Zeynep whispered to herself. I won't let this fall apart. But fate doesn't ask for permission. Halil stood alone outside, looking at the land he now owned. For him, this wasn't just revenge. It was justice, rewritten in his favor. Yet something unsettled him. Zeynep wasn't weak. She wasn't afraid. She looked at him like she would fight until the end. And that scared him more than resistance. This wasn't just a battle over land anymore. It was pride versus pain. Memory versus revenge. Duty versus desire. The first episode ends not with answers, but with questions. Will Zeynep bow to power, or stand her ground? Will Halil's revenge remain cold and calculated, or will emotions ruin his plan? Can love grow in a place built on destruction? The storm has only begun.